Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. So with this being episode 51, first one post-milestone, I wanted to change things up. So if you watch these episodes on YouTube, you see that the title card has changed completely. And after my episode with Alex, or my interview with Alex, I should say, he gave me some very wise advice of saying that, hey, dude, you need to stop releasing episodes on the weekends because people are busy living their lives and you're going to get low viewer numbers. So I knew that was something I had to address. So officially announcing that Keoni Chats is moving to Mondays and around 7:30. So I was trying to catch you before your morning commute or as you're on your morning commute. And I'm excited about it because I've done that same thing for 50 episodes, which is a little over a year's time. And I wanted to do something different to keep this fresh for me. So Mondays, 7:30 a.m. Try to 7:30, 8 o'clock. And also, I am spreading out the releases of these episodes to every other week. So twice a month, you will get new episodes of Keoni Chats. And obviously, I will continue to make those episode announcements through social media. And you can stay in the loop for that by following the show, KC Media 13, at both Instagram and Twitter, and then Conluke Media on Facebook. So if you do want to watch more video versions of these interviews, go to youtube.com, search Keoni Chats. They will be Keoni Chats will be in the title of each episode, so that should get you to there. And so I want to spread out these releases just because I was running myself pretty hard when it came to making sure the episodes are released on time, and B, I want to give this episode, and for this case, this episode, Olivia's, I want to give her another week of attention, another week of me talking about her episode, because I feel like I do all this work to get the episode released and then only spend a week enjoying it. I want to have 2 weeks of enjoying the fact that I got Olivia's episode out and I am enjoying this process, and I want to make sure that I really soak in the fact that I'm helping others that may feel like how Olivia has felt or is currently feeling. And I'm not going to say this is going to change someone's life, but at least make you feel a little bit better that someone else out there has shared the same experience as you have, or has dealt with the same anxieties, or dealt with the same doubts or fears. So at least this is what it does for me hosting the show, of getting to dive in on that. So twice a month, Keoni Chats, Mondays, 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock-ish. So at least 7:30 for sure. Look out for new episodes. Again, look at all podcast platforms across the board. So Spotify, Google Podcasts, and whatnot. So Olivia, I was very excited actually to get the chance to reconnect with her, just because I do remember in high school where we weren't super close, but I just loved having conversations with her, and I could easily have a conversation with her. She was never hard to talk to, but for her to dive in deeper on how she was able to handle some of her anxieties that she developed in her adulthood, that one again surprised me. She says something about how she handled being in the spotlight as a performer that really sparked my interest. So I was very happy to get her on the show and get her to tell her story. So thank you to Olivia. And I know that, at least I feel that podcast guests and hosts do have a higher public profile. So even if you don't know who Olivia is, if you're checking out this episode for the first time, thank you to the show. Welcome to the show, I should say. Welcome to the show, and check out more episodes. Check out Alex Moan. Check out Whitney Green Batista. Check out my mom's episode. Don't check out my mom. That's just weird. But check out my mom's episode. These are all people that might not have the highest profile in the public, but I think they're telling fantastic stories, and I am extremely honored and happy to get their stories out there. So, however you are listening to this podcast, on whichever platform you prefer, or if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoy my chat with Olivia Ontkean. thought I was ready, and then you got me all nervous, Olivia. You got me all nervous. Thanks.
It's not my
Thanks.
fault. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I can leave now if that helps.
Please avert your eyes. Avert your eyes.
I'll just
Uh,
here. I'll turn like a weird like camera saver on or something.
oh, thank you, thank you. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. So, I'm excited because, normally my process is like when it comes to interviewing one of my friends from high school, I just want to catch up with them for a little bit, and then you just started talking a whole lot of things that I like to talk about on the show. So I was like, okay, I gotta get this thing recorded now. What am I doing? I love catching up with Olivia, but you know, um, you mentioned something about how you got diagnosed with anxiety and adult anxiety, and then coping mechanisms. Can you kind of talk about that again real quick? That way it's officially on record.
Yeah. um, and hopefully, any trigger warnings for other people, but I'll keep it pretty vague. I started therapy back in January after we had a death in the family, and that was just kind of like a tipping point for me. And of course, that unpacked a lot of other stuff that growing up as a performer, a lot of just kind of outward projections and what was perceived as like an extroverted personality type was a lot of just like projection and coping mechanisms, then suppressing of trauma that to me didn't necessarily seem like significant, but I'm coming to learn that with like mental health, like everything's relative, and your trauma doesn't need to be compared to someone else's trauma, because there there's just it's apples and oranges. I mean, it might be apples and apples, but how you deal with something and how you process something is not going to be the same as somebody else. And that's important to remember when you're going through something yourself. But I was diagnosed with OCD, which I honestly thought was kind of funny because growing up, my sister has always just had those kind of like your stereotypical neurotic tendencies. She's very like, tidy things are facing like, a certain way or certain angles and stuff like that. And we both kind of had like those quirks growing up, but I was definitely labeled as more like quirky and just like, I just had like my phases I went through. And like I have like the controlled chaos kind of OCD where it's like it might look like a disaster to somebody else, but if you move my stuff around, I'm going to know that something's wrong. It's going to drive me nuts until I'm done. And like for everything that, Hollywood kind of stereotypes as symptoms of obsessive compulsive disorder, um, it goes so much deeper than the tip of the iceberg that they present. And some stuff is, misrepresented, but a lot of it is also just oversimplified but true. You know, those
Yeah.
little things of like, don't turn my pencil upside down, or don't shut that when I had it open, or something like those little things. But the causes and just like what the underlying problems are beneath the surface is so much deeper than what it shows on TV and movies and whatnot.
So with your OCD, I want to just, for those watching on YouTube and see Olivia's background. Where are you right now, Olivia? Because it does sort of
I'm
scream
in my
OCD.
like my cave. This is my station. I've got my like jewelry work behind me with my walls of plants against the window, and my dog. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. This is my comfy chair, my work chair for when I'm doing like hand artwork
Yeah.
that requires sitting.
And if, you, for all the, again, for those people that can't see you, you do also see a cheetah print. Is that a blanket behind you or pillows?
Yes, yeah. It's a blanket over a pillow on top of a chair. That's quite messed up. I got a heating pad behind me too.
So
Back problems,
there's always some sort of like organized, yeah, there's always that organized chaos. Now, when it came to assembling your backdrop or your room right now, how was that process?
Um, honestly, it's a matter of convenience more than anything. I could bust out a ring light and put myself in a place and take down paintings and put up a backdrop and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't really know I needed to. I didn't think that far. I'm being honest, but also like this is just this is what my coworkers see in staff meetings. This is my therapist sees in meetings. Like this is me.
Hmm.
It's you got crystals on a oil diffuser and a sewing machine and like this is the best dancers award from senior breakfast.
Really? You still
You
have
remember they
that?
gave those out? I do. And honestly, I put it up there not that long ago because I was cleaning out all of my old like figure skating medals and stuff that were just collecting dust in them. And I was like, that's not a skating medal. Just take that out. And I realized it's right behind me. That's so funny.
That was such a weird. I think that was kind of like an interesting day when it came to like seniors. Everyone else is in class, but all the seniors are in like the cafeteria, and then they
It
serve us
was weird.
breakfast, and it was like the I think it was, I wouldn't say it was like the booster club for Sunset, but more of like the I guess just some supportive. I don't know what they were called, but it's just like a bunch of like juniors or sophomores that are like involved with all these plannings, and they just they serve us breakfast. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, honestly, the breakfast is the only thing I remember. I remember sitting at a table with like Brennan and Corey and I think Annalise,
Hmm.
and then leaving.
Yeah.
Like that was it. That was the only thing of significance was mediocre pancakes.
Yeah, right. Which probably were from Costco, and they just reheated it real quick, and just like serve it, go, go,
That
go,
makes
go.
sense. They're doing like a lawn brunch for seniors this year. I heard
Oh,
Rachel and I wrote on a
cat.
hologram to that's the dog actually.
Oh, dog. Never mind. I'm sorry.
She's little. I my cat is like a pound bigger than my dog, which was too funny. She's a little like min pin mix. Hi, we
Oh,
just meet you right now.
oh.
This is Cece.
Hey, Cece. Look at you. Okay, we're gonna. This is gonna
She
be
always
a.
knows I'm occupied.
This is a double teamed podcast episode today. Olivia and Cece. So.
Yep.
So well, you did say that you had this um, fake confidence when you were younger. I do. That's exactly another thing. A lot of these things just stood out because you and I we were not super close, but we were close, like where we could talk to each other
Yeah,
fairly
like all
easily.
4 years.
Yeah, yeah. And
Uh,
so, like, hearing you say this now, it does make me ask myself, like, you know, it's just this great memory of her. It's like, oh, what made you? What was that realization of like, oh, you had this fakeness? I know you had in therapy, but what happened? If you're okay with this, ask going into it,
yeah.
what happened that made you think you had to put on a fake bravado?
I first came to the realization that I might have like underlying depression issues and some anxiety that I was not like dealing with properly around 2013-ish. And really what it was is I'm spark notes as best as I can. So I graduated, I went to PCC for a little while. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then ended up going to beauty school. And that was super great. I had a lot of fun that obviously came naturally to me. Worked in the salon for a while and then like came to the realization that I wasn't getting enough like stimulation like mentally and
Mm,
also physically like standing around and just I was and it was like making me feel depressed and I think in hindsight it was more of just like the self-awareness kind of coming through because I had felt like I had established like this is what I'm going to be doing at that point and it took a while for me to realize that that wasn't as fulfilling as I had wanted and that's when I ended up going back to teaching dance full time. But I went back to PCC after beauty school just to study physics because it's fun and I like it and it's interesting. And I was just like, I'm gonna steer my studies in this direction. And I just got really, really like neurotic about being like a perfect student. And I got like one C on like a calculus quiz one day because it was like a 3 question like pop quiz thing. So it was like I got 2 out of 3 correct. It wasn't like an actual like bad grade. And I had a meltdown. I had a serious meltdown. And I went to the movies with my mom later that day. And it was just the two of us. And I thought everything was fine. And we were sitting in the movie theater, it was mostly empty, maybe a couple of other people. It was like a midday, midweek type thing. And she got up to go get like popcorn or Raisinets. I don't know why I said popcorn. I just defaulted to yeah. My mom gets Raisinets, um, and I just started crying. I had a panic attack because she left me. I had like separation anxiety for the first time in my life, and I was just like, I want my mommy. And I'm like 20, and it was just yeah, it was a pivotal moment in understanding like my own mental health and just kind of coming to terms with the fact that no, you can be like a privileged white girl in the US and still have like mental health issues. And sometimes that's a hard pill for people to swallow.
and it doesn't have to, because like I do feel like the word mental health has to be associated with trauma to some degree. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be like, oh, you know, I
yeah,
got
it's
psych.
not all about trauma.
Yeah, it could be like the smallest thing, like when you're kind of tying your OCD with, classes, and then this kind of need to always be one of the top tier students. Yeah, that could easily affect you, easily. And so, you went to. I did see that you went to beauty school, and automatically when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, that fits. Yeah, that
Yeah.
fits. Yeah, that fits. Where, like, how long were you just kind of content with the idea of like, I'm gonna be in beauty school, or were you just like, I knew this was gonna be a one stop gap?
Um, so like I maintain my licenses. I love having my degree in cosmetology and knowing what I know and having access to the resources that it provides me. And obviously it ties over well to competition, dance, all that kind of stuff, performance, stage, whatever,
Hmm.
musical theater, yada yada yada. But the the like lack of fulfillment definitely became apparent when I started dancing like as a performer again myself, in my mid 20s, and substituting classes more and realizing how much more I loved teaching in the studio too. I mean, I was still coaching then, but that was just part of, my everyday life. And I was wanting to teach more, and in order to teach more I had to give up time at the salon. But if I gave up time at the salon, I still had to like pay my salon rent, because when you're an independent contractor, you rent your space. And
Hmm.
so it was costing me money to do what I wanted to do. And then I was like, I'm an idiot. And just I realized that that wasn't, no, I just needed to teach. I avoided it for as long as I did because I was afraid that it was going to like ruin my love for dance, that if I made it my whole career, that I was just
Hmm.
going to like, it was going to put too much pressure on the financial aspect of it and take the fun away.
Yeah,
That happens for a lot of people with a lot of
yeah,
things, but it didn't.
yeah. Because like, so I think 2, 3 episodes ago, my guest, his name is Eric. He worked for he and I went to college together. He was a big football fan. He's a big football fan still, but he was able to find his way into working for the NFL. And then he told me that he just got so drained when it came to like watching games and doing the things he loved. And now that he's away from it, he's just like, he's a fan again. He's like, oh, all right,
I
I enjoy
heard
this
the
again.
same thing from a friend of mine that was with the Eagles briefly. The NFL just like ruined his love for it.
Yeah.
And now he's coaching and he loves it so much more.
Yeah, that's why, like,
That's
when I was
interesting.
younger, I was just like, "Oh, I want to work for NFL. This could be great." And then after hearing him, and then also I had a stint working for Nike, and then, at the outside looking in, they're like, "Oh, you work for Nike? This is gonna be great. You're gonna like work your way up to campus, blah blah blah." I'm like, no, no, no. I'll wear this. I'll wear the
Don't work
stuff.
like that.
I'll wear the stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, no, I'm not gonna be a part of the campus. I'm good. I'm good. So you went from the salon, and then when you went back to dancing, did you like, how was your confidence level? Because I know when I go to the gym, I'm like, all right, think it back. Okay, I can lift this much weight. I try, pick it up. I'm like, nope, nope. There's my ego check. Did you have any like kind of ego check moments while you're dancing again?
Not as a performer, and I know that sounds like kind of cocky, but I just mean like I was literally raised as a performer. I mean, I've been competing figure skating since I was 5 years old. So it's just that's my comfort zone in a weird way. As somebody who is very like socially introverted, it's it's not a shyness, it's a like a shorter threshold for social interaction. And being on stage, being on the ice, just performing, whatever, allows for the like outward confidence to be projected or displayed, just getting out that energy of like, here's my outward confidence or whatever. But when you're a performer, the audience, there's a limit to how much they get to reciprocate, so you feel like you have a sense of control on stage, and you're like, I get the amount of attention I want and that's it, and then I get to leave and I'm done, and I can see the like finish, and that's its own comfort zone kind of
Hmm.
thing, where I'm like, I'm comfortable here, but it's the opposite of being in like a social setting where I'm like, anybody could walk up and talk to me at any time and I might not want to have a conversation. And just sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's nice, I'm gonna go now. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm stuck in this conversation because I don't want to be rude and leave. And like, social cues sometimes click and don't.
Even like just thinking ice skating, and then I mean you're kind of doing like team dancing, or the kind of dancing or coaching right now. So like just thinking ice skating for the second, it's just that you're on your own platform, and thinking of like that and like basketball or football or baseball, where yeah you are in the team environment all the time. Yeah, that could be overwhelming just to like, you just, let's say you did a great, I don't know any of the terminologies when it comes to ice skating. I just think of Blades of Glory, but
Throw something at me.
yeah, the spinning, when they spin on one skate with your leg held up high. Sure, let's go with that. Yeah, I can make up
There
things.
could be so many things that is. I'm like, is it a camel spin? Is it a Beelman? Is it a layback?
Okay, well, camel spin. Okay, let's say you're doing camel
Figure
spin.
skaters out there.
So
Honestly,
you,
that's probably what you're talking about.
probably. So you're doing the camel spin, and then you finish, and then I'm thinking like, in football where you catch a touchdown, everyone's like running at you cheering. You finish in ice skating, you're just there by yourself. You're there just to soak it all in, and then I don't imagine like when you get off the ice, you're officially done with your song or your set. Do people like run up to you and just kind of crowd you, or they are just still giving you your space?
Um, I mean, honestly, it would depend on the event, like, because when we're talking about figure skating, it's, the environment of like where you are, just where you get on and off the ice and stuff is not in the middle of an audience.
Mm,
And so the opportunity for people to really bum rush you is a lot like smaller.
that's gotta be nice.
And also, usually when people are getting off the ice, there's just this like etiquette of like, stay out of the way. They're coming in hot with knives on their feet,
Yeah.
you know? So, other than like maybe like your coach and your mom and a couple of your friends who are on the ice after you, like, not really. Um, dance team is a
Yeah.
little bit different.
Yeah.
Dance team is a much higher, but at the same time, it's still an expectation. So when you can set those expectations, it's much easier to manage.
Yeah. And then, oh gosh,
Like a Comic
it's
Con,
yeah. I was just thinking that
Disneyland.
too.
Like I can handle all of that, but I don't want that kind of an environment, if I want to go have a drink of bleachers and just like chill with my book.
Well, I think in Comic Con too is like you go into it as a fan, you're like, okay, I can handle this. But like going into it as like, let's say the star of a TV show that's really big, or like one of those Marvel shows that are like getting pumped out like crazy, that's got to be like, how do you just sit back and just want to enjoy that? You gotta like, holy crap, this line does not end. I gotta keep signing these things. I gotta keep talking to these people. That's got to be a lot. But then also the idea of going back to your old stomping grounds has got to be kind of nice, especially you and I graduated from Sunset, and then you becoming a coach. Did did you have any other like offers from other schools like Southridge, Westview, or whatever to for your services, or were they just pretty much, I want to go back home?
Not not really. When I say not really, I mean no, not at all. But because it wasn't something I ever applied for, I was just kind of asked.
Hmm.
So that was never even really, it was sunset or bust.
Yeah.
Like that's my team. And I've never really had any interest in coaching another team. I mean, you know, other coaches that I've established relationships with, if they were like, hey, come in and choreograph our jazz routine or something. Yeah, say it. Awesome. Sounds
Mhm.
great. But not coaching anymore and teaching in the studios is so much better just like financially, because honestly, like any Oregon dance team coach will tell you that it's a job that you do for the passion, not the money. And it's
Mm,
basically a volunteer job. Yes, there's a paycheck, but it's so insignificant compared to the amount of work and hours you put in
mhm.
that it's just, you have to want to do it out of love. And, I did that for a decade and that was great. And, it's just time to move on. And I'm glad I did, because I think I don't think it would be, I wouldn't want to have been there during COVID. I'm just going to put that out there
Oh
for
yeah.
starters. It was hard enough on the studios, but just trying to juggle two studios and the dance team at the same time would have just been a nightmare.
Because I'm, before you mentioned again that you were coaching or teaching for two studio to for you were teaching for two studios prior to us starting this recording. I thought you were still at Sunset, so that's why I was just like, oh man, I was wondering how she was like handling with COVID and school was shut down for most of the year, but yeah, it sounds like you got out right at the good time.
It's interesting actually. I can't say I got out, but I can say that I think things just kind of fell into place in my favor. I just didn't necessarily know it at the time.
Hmm.
The So one of the studio owners where I worked was the head coach when like from our junior year through graduation, and then she stayed on through 2017,
Hmm.
and then brought in a replacement, which that started off kind of sour because the option to move up to the head coach position was never offered, and we were like, what the heck, like we've been on this team for the last like x number of years. And then the new gal came in, and she wanted the team to be something that was the opposite of what we had been building for the last like 10 years style wise. She wanted another cookie cutter team,
Gotcha.
and um, head coach gets her way. She decided she didn't like that we had a much closer relationship with the girls. She felt like it was inappropriate because of her own trauma from past experience.
Mm.
And so, but then, everything just kind of worked out. I didn't have to be the one to deal with it during the pandemic, which I'm not saying I couldn't have, but am I upset that I didn't have to? No, anybody would like to not have to do hard things. That's just a given. But I'm much happier where I am now.
Yeah.
I miss my girls, but they're all graduated now, so I don't have
They
anything to miss anymore.
You could just recruit them like once, or just keep track of them, or like
I literally
coach them.
still work with some of them. One of them takes private lessons via Zoom for me every week in Boston because she's in college there.
Okay. See, that's gotta be kind of fun too to get start that relationship early, and then we see these kids grow up. It's slightly like very shocking. Could be very shocking to see these kids grow up because like, oh,
Oh
I
my
coached
God,
you
it
when you were
makes me
this
feel
tall.
so old. Yeah. I have students at my studios, and I was wearing a pair of pants the other day that are leggings that I've had since high school, and I looked at my pants and I looked at my pants and I looked at my pants and I went, my pants are older than you. And we both just like had a moment, and I was like,
Nope. Nope.
what do you say to that? Like,
It's. I mean, I think I was just thinking this like again when I found out that you were back at Sunset teaching or coaching. I was just like, I just wonder like how crazy it is that you went there as a student, now you're there as a teacher, and then you're seeing things from a whole nother perspective from the teacher end of it all
oh
or
my God,
coach's end of
yes.
it all.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, oh god, I did you like work with any of our older teachers, or because I
Not
feel
like
like when
with
you're
much, but
yeah.
definitely like my relationship with a lot of the staff, evolved into like a professional working relationship, and seen as peers. I mean, I see Mr. Ross, Mr. Farmer
Yeah.
in the hallways. I mean, Pete Lukic obviously was,
Mm.
our director, so I had a great relationship with him and some of the vice principals and stuff. But it's just, it becomes the difference between, in the first couple of years I was coaching, I literally was fresh out of high school. I didn't even leave. I never left. And being still friends with some of the upperclassmen because they're only a year or two younger than you, and you graduated, but they're still in school. And then just with enough time and enough turnover, now all of a sudden I'm yelling at kids running in the hallway because they're being dangerous, and I'm like, you need to slow down. You're going to get hurt. You're going to
Yeah.
cause somebody else to get hurt, and that's going to be on you.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm the teacher now. I am the teacher now. Look at me. I am the teacher now.
Any flashbacks to your days as a student?
I mean, constantly, you can't walk through those halls without having
That's
like
true.
just two hall looks the same.
Yeah.
Elevator is still so unnecessary. Like,
Yeah. It went like
the
literally
only
like
thing that's really changed is the fields, because they've been improved and updated and whatnot. But
so yesterday I
there's
was
not
at the
much
Saturday
different.
market with my girlfriend, and I went to I think it was like Portland Juice Co. their little booth, and I saw one of the girls wearing a sunset sweater with just the S on it, and I was like, oh, what year are you, or are you still in school? She's like, oh, I'm a junior. And I'm like, oh, I went to Sun School. I went to Sunset in 2010. And then I told like, yeah, those fields. I wish I had those. I hate you guys, but also I'm happy for you guys. I hate you, but I'm happy.
Right?
So
Like
very confused.
I'm envious, but I'm very, very like I'm happy that the next generation got something better.
God, yes, sons of bitches. Fans of the Keoni Chats podcast, if you are enjoying this episode so far, check out my other show, Conlu's Con Conversations, or also known as Tres C. This is a talk show with my brother, Jack Conlu, and his Instagram handle is Jack_BITW. Check it out. We're only about a couple episodes in, but it was just two brothers. We're not experts at all, but we're just giant fans, and we talk about different topics. So far, these first two episodes, they have been about the NFL and everything going on, and some trailblazers. We're both Portland, Oregon natives, so we wanted to, get some mics in front of us. I do this, what's becoming like I'm doing this for a living, and I wanted to get my brother on here and also see what his knowledge is like. So check it out, Tres C Conlu's Con Conversation, available on Spotify and Google Podcast. No videos, all audio, all fun. If you want to hear a topic discussed by us, direct message either him, again, Jack_BITW, or myself at KC Media 13. Check it out every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, looking to get those released. So thank you very much. Now please enjoy the rest of the episode. So, that now that phase of your life is done. We did have that pandemic, like we've mentioned a few times. Now, to pack that onto your anxiety prior to the pandemic, so like 2019, and then the OCD, and then everything else. I know you got your vaccine fairly early when this most recent year. How was that early stages for you? Because that's also, again, a lot of things happened for me during this whole year. So I'll let you have the floor though, because this is a show about you, not about me.
Individual. No. Um, Definitely at the beginning of the pandemic, I honestly, like most of us in the house, just kind of went into that like, worst case scenario survival mindset, and I was definitely perfectly happy to stay inside my house those first 2 weeks in March. I was like, don't gotta tell me twice. I don't want to go to the grocery store. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to come into contact with other people because I don't know how bad this is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also, I mean, me, my husband, my sister, her boyfriend, we're around all of our parents. And my husband's parents are on the older side and stuff. His mom actually did get COVID back in September, and she's, she had a fine recovery and good medical assistance and whatnot, but she sounded like death, and she was, she said it was pretty miserable, and that's even with just a pretty mild case. So we got pretty lucky as far as none of our parents' generations really getting exposed to it before getting vaccinated. um, but it was a very tense first couple of months between everybody feeling like, oh, are we communicating enough? We want to make sure that, like, who did you see today? Did you come within 6 feet of anybody? And it was like, it was
Mm-hmm.
so rigorous until we just knew more. And obviously that's also hard when you're around people who are on the other side of it going, don't believe everything you hear, the virus is a hoax, and just like all that. Like, disease doesn't care about politics, and that's what I keep coming back to. And I'm like, I would rather be this kind of wrong than that kind of wrong, is the other thing I've said to people. Like, I would rather be wrong and be like, oh, well, I'm glad that I was safe, even if it wasn't worth all of the like drama, than be like, oh no, I was reckless and it's worse than I thought. It's just, I mean, to me it's a clear choice.
Yeah.
And so, taking advantage of getting vaccinated as soon as I was able to, because it puts my students in a safer position as well, just being in the studio around me and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
my family, and just, I don't know, I don't want to be the malaria mosquito that's transmitting it from one person to the
Yeah.
next.
Yeah. Because I had this conversation at my current work where they're like, this feels like it's the AIDS call. Like you call up your past lover and be like, hey, I just found out I have this. You should go get tested. And
Right, yeah.
it seems like such a hard conversation to have now. with
It is. Well, and there's guilt too,
yeah.
even when it's like nobody's fault, just to be the person to be like, hey, I might have been near somebody who had COVID. You should make sure that you're okay. Like you feel guilty telling somebody, hey, if you have it, it might be my fault.
Hmm.
And I'm just glad that I've never had to make that call.
Yeah, and I remember when I am again at the same work where we've had two positive COVID cases get, I guess, revealed at work, and then I called one other person because the guy who had COVID, he was in the office on Thursday. I'm in the office full time, so he was in the office on a Thursday, and then that Saturday I saw like my friend and then his wife. I gave him the call. I was like, hey, or I texted him. I was like, hey. I just found out that someone at my work got COVID. I just want to let you guys know since we were like right with you a couple days later. He asked me a few questions. I was like, "Oh, were you? How close were you? Did you have your mask on?" I was like, "Yes." I was like a little bit above 6 feet, and then yes, I had my mask. He was like, "I'm not worried." I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, okay."
Like, well, I've done my part then.
Yeah, right. I did my part,
Because there is
but
only so much, other adults are responsible for themselves too, and you can only like take so much responsibility on behalf of somebody else.
yeah, yeah. And then I that's all because there are arguments where like for the vaccine, for example, it's like, are you doing your part? Are you getting your vaccine? Do you want to get your vaccine? There's a whole like list of like questions that come after, like, did you get vaccinated? That it just feels weird for me to ask people. It's just like
It is.
I don't
Well,
know.
there's also this big misconception that seems to be popular amongst the predominantly anti-vax, community, and that is that it's a HIPAA violation, and it's not, because that's not how HIPAA works, and a lot of people just don't know that and don't understand it. But unfortunately, and I've heard directly from some people that like their employers are spreading that misinformation too and telling their employees, hey, nobody's allowed to ask you this. This is a violation of your medical rights. It's a HIPAA violation. And it's like, no, it's not. And unfortunately, when they're wrong, and the laws are the laws. But
Hmm.
it's causing people to think that they are exempt from being asked a question that they simply can just choose not to answer.
Yeah. Or if they
you
don't
can
want
you
it.
can ask anybody a question, you don't have to answer. Like that's what it really boils down to.
I mean, I got a
But
list of things
you
I want to
can't
ask
ask
you.
me that. I know, right? You can't ask me that. Well, I did, so are you gonna answer or not? No. All right, then we're done here. Like
Yeah.
that's the extent, that's the only conversation it should ever be.
I do feel like sometimes people get asked that question and they just want to make more of a scene than it really has to be just because
Oh
they
yeah,
just
the
want to be in the
rhetorical
attention.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I don't need, okay, it's like, great. I hear your life story. Awesome. But it's like, I asked you a question like 20 minutes ago and it's required a one word answer, yes or no. So, oh, so as an instructor, how closely were you monitoring? Because the CDC revealed new guidelines about 10 days ago. Actually, now how close are you monitoring everything that's happening and making sure that when you do have your classes or you talk to like the main owner of the studio, the two. Is there any kind of collaboration when it comes to, again, I don't want to get in trouble, but is there any kind of collaboration when it comes to making sure that your guys' guidelines within the studios is fair and safe, or you just kind of like follow CDC blindly?
Yeah, I mean, we would be stupid to not, you know, follow the rules, because that would put, everybody in a position of unsafety. That's not a word. That would put everyone in a very unsafe position to begin with, and also just be a stupid choice from a business practice standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I don't work in environments where I feel like I have to worry about that.
Hmm.
When new when new guidelines and stuff come out, we're updated by the like administrative staff pretty much immediately. And how the changes affect us, what it means for us, what are the options now, and so on and so forth. And then um, like I said, it's optional for fully vaccinated teachers if you want to keep wearing a mask or not. And the more we get into summer, the hotter it is. Obviously, the more we're seeing that starts to open up. Students still are fully required to wear masks even if they're vaccinated.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, hello, Cece.
so this is her rattle food. Go. Um, that won't be the last time that
Probably not.
happens.
Probably not.
But it's nice because people do understand that we are following the CDC guidelines, and um, basically the most cautious of the recommendations is the protocol that we're following.
Yeah.
And um,
Yeah.
there was something I had to add on to that, but clearly it wasn't important enough.
So something that
But
was
we're following the rules. We're being safe.
there you go. There you go. Something that was a casualty of COVID times, and also something that was mentioned earlier is Comic Cons. And I would be very remiss if I don't mention how much of a cosplayer, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
cosplayer you are. You even made your own Instagram account. I assume the mannequin behind you, again, people who are just listening to this, maybe it's some grand elaborate costume you're about to unveil when Comic Con comes back. Where did this passion for just starting at the bare essentials, where did this passion for like all cartoons, all kind of superheroes, or just anything kind of fun? The word nerdy was such a bad word like when we were kids, but now we're like it's the word to be honored by. So where did this kind of passion come from?
I mean, I've always definitely been just, a nerd as far as like cult classic type stuff, comic book type stuff. I was never like huge into like reading comic books, but just the cartoon type stuff in general that became very popular from our high school and onwards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our first convention that we went to was Rose City Comic Con in 2016,
I remember
and I
that.
was like, all right, I'm gonna do my first cosplay, and Pokemon Go had just come out, and we had gotten really sucked into that because duh. And so I was like, I'm gonna do a Vaporeon. That's my favorite Pokemon. Why not? And since it was so hot that summer, there was so much Pokemon content
Mm.
at that Comic Con, and so many parents who brought their younger kids that they had gotten into it and stuff, and there were just so many so many families and so many children and stuff. How can we get a picture with you? Oh, you're my son's
Yeah.
favorite Pokemon and stuff like that. And I was just like, this is so fun. I feel like a Disney princess at Disneyland. Oh my God. I'm doing this forever. And I've just, I've always been into making costumes and stuff. And that goes back to, being in middle school and designing my own figure skating costumes for competition and stuff. And
Mhm.
um, I I got a sewing machine from my 15th birthday, and it had gone untouched for many years until like probably around 2016, where I was like, all right,
Let's get this bad boy going.
let her
Let's
rip.
go.
Yep.
Oh,
So yeah, that just forced me to learn a lot of different kinds of like costuming techniques, whether it's like working with like Warbler products and
mhm.
fusing plastics and molding things, resin casting. I haven't worked with like electrical stuff much, but that's mostly just because like I don't like to mess with electricity. I respect it from a distance.
That one seems like it could very much backfire. Where this one is just like it's just glue, or you cut something wrong, glue something wrong.
Yes.
You're fine.
Honestly, I feel like it's very important. Anybody who is listening to this and seeing this needs to know so much is smoke and mirrors. Like the amount of hot glue and duct tape that goes into cosplays is the number one reason why I don't like pursue it as something that I allow people to like commission works from me from, because I'm like, I don't do things the right way. So I don't feel like I can value that in a way that is justifiable to like
Mhm.
bill somebody what it would actually cost to have a custom made piece.
Yeah, that's like when you don't want to coach the wrong technique, but you think it's the right technique, and then
I'm like, it just looks good on the outside.
yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah, and so first off, you go to a Comic Con dressed as a Pokemon, and you get all this attention. That does seem kind of opposite to. I mean, for me, like, anxiety is kind of driven for me, at least when there's like a large groups of people, uncertainty. So like the Black Lives Matter movement, that one gave me a big trigger of like anxiety. Did you not get any kind of anxiety with all these people like surrounding you or trying to get pictures of you, or knowing that
No,
someone's
because
taking a
it's
photo of you without you knowing?
I see. I have no problem being on camera. I have
Okay.
no problem with photography, video, like anything, and that's it's because that's where I'm comfortable. Is I'm comfortable performing, and so if I'm going somewhere in a costume that is meant to be getting attention, it's a choice I've made, and I'm very mentally prepared for it.
Okay.
It's all about the mindset. It's not that any crowd is an issue. It's that okay. So something like Black Lives Matter. That's a great example. So something that is a movement that as a peaceful protest that
Mhm.
is also frequently being targeted and attacked and turning into these riots and stuff. That is a very volatile situation that that wouldn't be a choice I would make. A
Mhm.
Comic-Con should be relatively benign. Everybody's there to have a good time. Everybody's there for the same reason. We're all nerds.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to play games and do stuff. So like it's a safe space. It's a big
Okay.
safe space. It's like Disneyland for me.
Yeah. And I mean, they're also the costumes. A, depending on how much time and effort you put in, can look almost comic book accurate, which is absolutely fantastic. It must be a great feeling
Oh,
for you.
some of the stuff I've seen is unbelievable. I'm like, is that's the actual one, right? Like I've seen some like Groot cosplays that are just insane,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. The end of the convention costume contests are my favorite part. I enter even though I never win, just because I like being there and I like hanging out with everybody else in their
Yeah.
amazing costumes.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh gosh, I remember the movie Ready Player One. I watched that one
Mm.
fairly again recently. And you see all these like random characters thrown together. It's like a scene from that movie, like towards the end, where like the big action
A
scene.
100%,
It's like,
yeah.
oh my god,
Especially
this
when
is
they're all like
insane.
lined up on stage. Like Magneto next to Thor, next to a Minecraft sweeper thing, or
It,
whatever they're called, the creepers.
yeah, yeah. Oh, but I believe I saw you do a Mystique from X-Men,
Yes.
and I'm just curious also because those can be very revealing, like very tight on your body. How were you with that kind of, granted, again, it's not, they can't fully see you like as clear as I see you right now, but it's like, that's still very revealing. How'd you feel about that?
It's yeah, so that one, I mean, for me it was just like any dance costume. It's
Mm.
a full body leotard. I'm so used to having my body scrutinized by spectators that it's pretty unfazing. Um in that performance setting, if somebody's walking down the street and they call you fat or whatever, obviously that's going to sting a little bit, but it's different when you're potentially putting yourself on display. I was also in really good shape when I did that
Yeah.
one, uh, but it was a full body like blue leotard that I had painted um, the scales onto, so it just looked like it fit. And then I used body paint to fill in the rest. And I actually really want to redo that one because at the time that I did it, I didn't have the yellow contacts,
Mm.
but I have them now. Um, and and I think I've gotten a little bit better at getting the body makeup to stay. The problem was that it started like chafing off around my neck, so
Oh.
there's this distinct like line of separation between like my blue face and my blue body. But that one was fun, and I've never taken that one to a convention, so I will be doing that one again at some point. It's
Okay.
just a lot of work. I'm
um,
lazy.
but I knew that, again, going back, diving into your social media, I do know that you had a little bit of a body weight issue that, then at least for me, I know I have a body dysmorphia where like I can go to the gym, I can work out all this time, and I can go on a diet, but then I just won't feel comfortable completely. Like, if I'm like, let's say, get out of the shower, I'm just like, I can work out more on my abs. I can always do bigger, get my chest bigger, but it's like I'm never satisfied. So for
Yeah.
you in health and fitness and your weight management, how was that journey for you? Because you did find something to help with that, which will I'll let you lead into.
It's that's definitely been a very it's something that I could have struggled a lot more with under different circumstances, and I'm grateful that I didn't. But it has always been kind of an underlying challenge. I've never been the one to have like a super fast metabolism or anything. And in my late teens, my early 20s, I did have some kind of unhealthy relationship dynamics where I was, being told that I was, losing my ideal, physique and whatnot, and comments on weight and just body changes. And honestly, in hindsight, it was completely unacceptable because I was literally just like getting taller and like going through puberty late and like boobs growing and things like that. I went from looking like a toddler to like an actual like human woman, and God forbid. Um, but I I promote a lot of body positivity, and but it is a very, it can be a very touchy subject because, and I could be putting myself on blast out there, for as much as I think that it's very unhealthy to promote like being super skinny and like terrible eating habits and calorie counting and just trying to be too small. It does go the other way as well, and I do think that there is a much wider range of physique and like health than is just, you can't look at somebody and just decide if they're healthy or not based on what you see, based on their shape, their size, whatever. That's unacceptable, and it's almost never going to be accurate unless you're some kind of like brilliant nutritionist, trainer, human that literally only does that for a living and just gets paid to do that. Then no, you have no business just guessing if you think somebody else is healthy or not. But there's a threshold on either end of like, you can definitely tell when someone is way too skinny or way too overweight. And I think with a lot of the body positivity, like acceptance that we see these days, those boundaries of acceptance sometimes do get pushed into the unhealthy limits in both directions. And so I try to curb that by, I don't try too hard to be a particular weight. I was very happy, but being more comfortable and being leaner. And then at the beginning of the year, I don't know if it was just like a change in my medications for my mental health, because I switched from one kind of antidepressant to a non-antidepressant because it was just, I mean, it made me a shell of a person. Don't recommend that. But I think that changed my metabolism, and I lost like 30 pounds just like not on purpose. And honestly, that was kind of weird because while I'm not upset about it, and I'm like, cool, this it's great. I'm inside. I've like I can do aerials and stuff again. Like I'm in better shape now.
Mhm.
Um, but when people say, "Oh, you look great. Have you lost? How did you do it?" And it's like, it's almost like having like a natural gift. You're like, you don't know how to accept like a compliment on something you didn't work to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's the bigger issue that I struggle with, is that when I have fluctuations in the down direction where I look like much more like ripped and athletic all of a sudden, obviously people are just like, you look like a beast. But it's almost never intentional. So I have a hard time like being okay with it. And it's not about the weight, it's about the attention that the change in weight gets.
Mm,
And I think that that's something
yeah.
that a lot of teenagers and young women struggle with as well, because
Yeah.
people will be very quick to comment on, when you look good, have you lost weight lately? Oh, so you're implying I was unhealthy and heavier. I didn't know that. Like, you never know like what you might be stirring up by
Mhm.
telling someone they look good. Have you lost weight? If it's something you don't know if they're trying to do or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you never know if like they're just having a hard time sleeping or just something behind the scenes, like the rough time at home, and then next thing you know, they're just like not
Yeah.
eating as much. So it does bring attention to some of the underlying issues that they could be facing, and that's not fun. That's not good.
And that was a concern with me at the beginning of the year, because the weight drop did happen to coincide also with the family death that we went through. And so I wasn't sure if it was a healthy weight loss,
Hmm.
like if it was just a change in my metabolism, which that was more or less confirmed by blood tests later on that we were doing for my thyroid, and it was, those levels changed, and it just all kind of tracks. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I was like, did I lose weight out of stress? Because that's not something I'm going to recommend to other people.
Right?
They're like, how'd you do it?
I just imagine you in a commercial be like, I lost weight thanks to stress. Stress helped me get
Oh,
drop this much weight, able to,
there we go. That's my next
aerials
TikTok
again,
video.
and there you go. There you go. It's because
Guys, stress with an E accent.
because it's so easy. I mean, granted, I guess when it comes to that October to December time frame, with the holidays and all this Thanksgiving eating, and it gets colder outside.
God, yes.
I know, like, I feel very body conscious when I like go to work And luckily, like I'm behind a desk where people can only see me from like my chest up, for example. So like I'm like, oh, don't look at my stomach. Oh, I had too much good food last night. Sorry, sorry. But I know when I start turning it around, it's just like I do feel more confident being able to wear like maybe a little bit not so loose of shirts, or just try to like
That's what it's really
accept
about
it.
too,
Yeah,
is are you happy and comfortable? That's what matters. Not what somebody else thinks, not what the scale says. Are you happy and are you comfortable?
yeah,
And are you healthy
yeah.
in the greater sense of the word? That's the important part.
So in this journey to body acceptance, you also found pole dancing. So I'm not sure if you're still doing pole dancing now in your studio, or if you have it in your studio, but uh, tell me about that, because pole dancing obviously has a very taboo type of connotation immediately off the
Yes.
bat. So
Yeah, I would love to unpack that. Yeah, so I actually, you know what aerial silks are?
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I
So
will also put up a
yeah,
picture for people watching on YouTube so they can just be like, "Hey, there it is." Mm,
yeah. So think very like Cirque du Soleil type stuff. These aerial silks, the hoops, the trapeze. My sister and I did that in middle school because one of the aerial schools was based out of our middle school, so it was just convenient. And then in like 2014-ish, there's a studio in Tigard called Diva Den that does pole classes, and but that it's acrobatic pole. So it's not like, hey,
mm.
we're going to teach you, you know, how to go like work the clubs, unless you want to, because they're very, very positive about that because we have such a sex positive like environment in Portland, and it is really good. And there are girls who are professional dancers that like come and train to improve their skills, and that's honestly why we have some of the like most awesome strippers in Portland. They're so talented because they take their craft very seriously. um, but they're very, very rigorous classes, and you start to build up a lot of like pain tolerance working with it because you're gripping. Basically it's the same concept as aerial silks, except instead of having this like floppy fabric, you have a stiff medium that you're working with. But a lot of the holds and everything, it's all the same. Like, it was easy for us to jump into because of our background with silks,
Mm.
basically. And we trained in that for about 2 years, got up to a semi-advanced level, and then why did I take a break? I don't remember why I took a break the first time. I haven't been back in class in a while because October 2019 I had shoulder surgery, and I haven't like done anything since then.
Yeah.
But we were actually talking about getting back into classes soon because I think the studios are back to opened up again. But we're also talking about getting back into the aerial silk stuff and doing some of the drop-in classes at some of the aerial gyms that they have in Portland. It just sounds so fun, and I miss it. And I like swinging around. That's what it is. I like flying. Like I've always enjoyed acrobatics, and there's some stuff that I'm good at, and some stuff I really struggle with because I have T-Rex arms. But you know what? I'll take what I can get.
So you said something when it came to your pole dancing class that was very open sexually, or open, I guess. Yeah, yeah, open sexuality. There you go. That was the word you said. But again, going back to your very confident and very much like strong presence when it came to high school, and then you go into the salon. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I see that. I I do remember this about you too. You were very open about that. You're very open about sex, and you're very open about talking about it, and very open about just help. I don't know where you're at now that you're married and had some life behind you, but did it feel like any moment when you're doing the pole dancing, we were like, okay, I could do this in the club. I could strut my stuff. Or if you're just like, I want to, maybe I can have it be saved for like a fun little date night with you and Chris, for example. Like, where other than the fitness angle of pole dancing, what other thoughts did you have when it came to performing and doing all that?
So that's actually a really funny question. I always made this joke of, you know, I would never be a stripper because I don't like the hours. The same reason I wouldn't be a bartender. Like, and I mean, ultimately, it's because I love the dance aspect of it. I don't think the human form in its nude form, or the human figure in its nude form, should necessarily have to be a sexual thing. So I don't necessarily correlate pole dancing with having to be sexualized as opposed to any other form of dance. Jazz dance is really sexualized too, and we put toddlers on the stage doing that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's, there's a lot of like double standards in the dance industry. And so as far as like pole technique goes, everything that I do, I mean, I actually do a lot of like point work, like ballet point shoe work with my pole, and like kind of playing around with how can I hybridize the styles, because that's what I like to do, is kind of, like Asian fusion food, but for dance. Like, delicious.
Delicious and multicultural.
Yeah, delicious and multicultural, exactly.
Keoni Chats is probably sponsored by Cove Hard Yerba Mate. Josh Mackler is a good friend and former guest of the show. And after his episode, I was very curious as to how the yerba mate tasted like. So I've seen those yellow cans at grocery stores that say yerba mate, but never really bought one and never really got into it. So once I tried it out, got a baseline understanding of how yerba mate tasted like, I was like, okay, let's try this out. Let's go. So Josh was very kind and sent me a pack including the 4 flavors they provide, which is a berry lemonade and a mango colada and a mojito. So I've loved all 4 flavors at different stages. So at first it was the mojito, and then next thing you know, the berry, and then now the lemonade. But they're all fantastic options. And if you are interested in trying some of Josh's hard yerba mate, then go to hardyerba-mate.com. Search around, create a cart, and put some flavors here, put some flavors there. So they also have t-shirts, so if you want to get some apparel, put that in there as well. And then use a discount code KeoniChatsKove, KeoniChatskove, for 25% off your total purchase. That is huge, Josh, and the people at Cove. Thank you very much for providing a discount code for all Keoni Chats fans to use. It's still very awesome to say that I have my own discount code. So thank you again. You must be 21 and over to purchase any alcohol from Cove. And everyone, please enjoy responsibly.
Dante's.
Yeah. Yep.
Most people are. So
kind of hard not to.
Johnny, the owner, was always like, "How come you ain't working for me? How come you ain't working for me?" And I'm like, I don't like the politics. I'm sorry. It's just too dramatic. Sorry, Johnny. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not for me. Like, I like to go out every now and then. I think, sex positivity is great. I applaud women who want to be strippers. I love the male strip clubs too. Silverado is so fun. But like, just like anything else, it can get, for me, it's just like any other nightclub. I have to be in the mood to go out in that environment. I'll have a good time, and then I'm gonna need a break, because it's a lot of drama. They're high energy, high drama environments, and the older I get, the less it's interesting. But it used to be fun when we were 22, 23, and wanted to go out on Friday nights and party. But
that's
getting old now.
That's just getting too tiring, just
in college, I'm in my happy hour years. My happy hour years now.
Yeah, I was at a party, and then, which is also a weird experience, to be in a house party with people that I think are I'm just like, this is weird, and I'm vaccinated.
Is this allowed?
I know. I was like, I feel like some police are gonna come and just kind of break this up, but
we had like 4 friends over, and everyone was vaccinated, but we were like,
I see your face.
Do we hug? Do we high five? What do we do?
But yeah, I just remember that, it's where was I gonna go? But I just know that it's harder to go enjoy yourself nowadays when it's not just COVID times, but just our age is just like, we just want to relax and hang out at home. And I just remember what I was gonna ask you. So I think this was maybe a little under a year ago. I think so. But when they opened up the first ever drive-through strip club, what were your thoughts?
So I never went, but one of my friends works there, and she said she looked like she was having a great time. I loved her environment. She was also a very like COVID safety positive type person, so she would have all these cool like gas masks and stuff that she would wear. But she also, because it was outside and there were these like tents and stuff and it was cold, she had this like awesome left shark like onesie costume that she would wear. Super unform fitting, unsexy, and still
It's just like a
just
giant
some of the
square.
most amazing. Yeah, and she's one of the most amazing entertainers you've ever seen. Um, I thought it was really interesting. I like the innovativeness and I like how a lot of the businesses, just like came up with really creative ways to stay afloat.
Hmm.
Because other than that, all they were doing was takeout if they had restaurants
Hmm.
attached to them, and that's keeping your fingers crossed that that's enough profit to keep your doors open. So the drive-through strip club thing I thought was a pretty awesome and such a Portland idea.
It
My
really
parents and
is.
my sister went to the drive-through haunted house thing that Oaks Park. It was Oaks Park, right? Oaks Park. Yeah,
I
I think it was Oaks Park.
I used to at that time actually I was living near the zoo and I knew they had a drive through zoo lights. So I'm not sure about
I did
the
hear about
haunted one.
that. I didn't go to that, but I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like when it comes to like haunted houses, they can obviously have the variety. So when it comes to like a Portland zoo lights, it's just like it's all kind of the same. At some point, it
Yeah.
just kind of becomes like all the same to me, honestly. So, the strip club industry, they did do this to kind of create some sort of revenue, do something unique and different during the 2020 year, or just also onto 2021. What is something you've picked up, and what is something you're like finding yourself not thinking you'd be able to do, but now you're doing it easily just because you had the time to? Maybe that's not crafts involved, something other than crafts.
Well, shoot, then I don't know if I have an answer. I mean, I can't say that I picked up any, like, I didn't like learn an instrument or a new
Sure.
language or anything. My Etsy shop was the only thing that I started as a result of the time that I had.
Was it the Lunaby?
Yeah, yeah. So that I was born out of the pandemic.
Yeah. What is Lunaby?
So Lunaby is my Etsy shop name and my Instagram handle for the same thing. It started as I like rocks, I like crystals, and I was really digging the like gemstone bead bracelets that I had seen like people start to wear, and I wanted to do that. I really like the show Steven Universe because
Hmm.
it's just amazing. And all of the, or most of the characters in the show are named after crystal gems.
Hmm.
And so I was like, how does nobody have just like a collection of the crystal gem bracelets in all of the Steven Universe like gem characters? And so that was what started it. And I decided I wanted to make a whole series of gemstone bracelets based on the characters of the shows, like pearl, amethyst, garnet, peridot. Like it seemed so obvious. And it was one of those like, well, I guess I'll do it myself moments. And then it just took off from there. I Kenzie Chapman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she and I collaborate a lot on stuff, and I had her do the design for my logo, which is the like geometric B with a moon inside of it. And that became the name in the logo because my first dog's name was Luna, and I just like bees. I'm one of those people. I'm a bee person. I'll save the bees, and I don't know. It sounded good. It was cute. The logo just kind of came together on its own, and it's stuck, and the rest was history. And so now I have an Etsy shop, and I have jewelry that I make, and I've started branching out to. I made some tote bags, and I'm gonna start doing the Apple Watchy scrunch band soon.
Okay, I did see that.
Apple Watch scrunchy band.
I didn't know if that was like when you found or you made that, but that's actually pretty good. I like
Oh,
that.
these are so popular right now, and I like it because I had one of the silicone bands, and then like it was really hot in the middle of April, and I realized how gross and sweaty it gets when I'm at work, and I was like, well, that won't do.
Nope.
And so I got one of these instead, and it's awesome because I can just pop it on and off, and all you have to do is get the little connectors, and then you
Hmm.
can make whatever kind of band you want. So I was like, yes, yes, 100%.
I went on a pretty long walk yesterday with a girlfriend, and then yeah, I had an Apple Watch tan on my wrist, and I was just like, of course.
That's something I will never have to worry about because I don't tan.
Yet, yet we can't close the door on this one yet, Olivia.
I guess eventually all my freckles will just like blend together.
I mean, they could. You should make a whole. You could do a cosplay of you being tan.
trying to think of the darkest spray tan I ever got and what it looked like. I think it was pretty orange. It's pretty bad. I
Let's do
start turning like the color of my hair.
let's do it. So there is one more
Do
dance
it.
question I want to ask you. Um,
Yes.
is that okay? I so watch Dancing with the Stars. So watch those dancing shows. You saw this on the topic sheet. You met Derek Huff. I think I'm saying that last name right. What was the story behind that? Because at first I don't know why I was like, this is this a real photo? Or did she just like fake Photoshop herself? No, this is real. This is real.
So he had his own tour that came through. They came through Eugene a couple of years ago. My mom and my sister and I went because we're big Derek Huff fans and just dance fans in general. And if you've never seen him dance, oh my God, you have to. It's amazing. He's got so much charisma and he's so talented. His choreography is awesome. Just, I mean, I could watch him dance forever. And he's such a nice guy. He kind of looks a lot like my husband too. So, like he's got a sweet place in my heart. But I don't know. My mom just decided that she wanted to like spring for the like backstage pass thing. So it's he played like a musical set for the VIP guests, and there was just like a Q&A, and everyone just kind of hung out and got their pictures. And it was really nice, really funny. I mean, it wasn't like I met him somewhere and we like had a drink and it was like
Yeah,
circumstantial.
like a scotch in
Those
your
are my fun.
hand.
Those are my favorite experiences. I love it. I bought Aaron McGeehee a drink one time at oh no, that's Dante's.
Well,
I
Aaron
meant
is
Casa earlier when I was talking about the strip club. That's what I meant. Casa Diablo, not Dante's.
well, Aaron McGee. He does live in Portland, I believe I heard.
Mm-hmm.
So that does.
I don't know if he still does. Yeah, this is several years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's just crazy that like A, you met Derek Huff, and then B, it's like all these people are flocking to Beaver, like Portland area, just to find residence, and I'm just like, wait, what? What?
Yeah.
Why?
John Heater is from Oregon too, but I think like Central Oregon or Southern Oregon or something.
And then Ty Burrell, he from Modern Family, he's a Duck
Yeah.
alum. He went to Gresham High School, I believe. So it's like, all
I
right,
lived there not recently.
we're pumping out some good
Wow.
talent. There you go. So for you meeting Derek Huff, what does you said this dance is iconic when it comes to the dance world. For you, and just knowing that you have seen him in person and then you see him on TV, what kind of connections do you feel there?
Have you ever like met a celebrity that you are a big fan of and you're just like their status seems to just like kind of a little bit more when you meet them?
Yeah, because there's always that what never meet your heroes or idols or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's not like that.
Yeah. What a setup.
I don't find him any less like he's everything that I would hope that he would be as
Yeah.
a fan. He was just a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, because anytime, so my brother went to Oregon State for his first 2 years of college, and then I went to go visit him because Bobby Lee was there. Bobby Lee from Mad TV, small Asian guy for people that don't know who he is. So he was there doing a comedy set, and I just remember like I took a picture of them. I was completely starstruck, and I just oh hi, hey hi, and then I see him on TV for like a movie or something like that. I'm just like, I met this guy in person. I met him in person. This is great. That's the kind of thing like I feel like you
I
would
would
have when you
say
meet Derek Huff.
I have that more with John Hader because we've met him at a couple of Comic Cons now. He almost always comes to the Portland one since he's from Oregon.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh we didn't talk to him very much at the first one because they just kind of funnel people through when you're like buying your photographs or whatever. But the second time we met him, he had an open booth and nobody was really there, and we ended up just like talking to him for like 20 minutes. But it's when we were dressed up as Vader and Leia, but reversed. And he was just like, I have had to stare at this man in a bikini for 20 minutes. And I'm like, mad about it, but not mad about it at all. And I think he remembers us now. And he's
Oh,
like, because we just had such a great time. And I get so excited to see him every time. We actually we got our tickets for Comic Con this September because it's scheduled to run. And he's
hey.
supposed to be there. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go see him again.
I'm gonna see
What
you
we
again,
started
Yosobi.
doing was We brought the first picture we ever got with him the second time we met him, so that he held the picture when we took another picture. So we're just gonna keep doing this like John Heater pictureception every time we
Yeah.
see him, and eventually he's just gonna have to be our friend, right?
I mean, I feel like the next step is you got to make him a shirt. Actually, you got to make matching
Ooh,
shirts.
ooh, I could do that.
Yeah,
I could do that real easily.
give that
Yeah.
to him. Get like a vacuum sealed clean bag or whatnot, and then be like, "Hey, John, I want you to have this too. Feel like we have a special
Or just
connection."
isolate the picture of Chris in the Princess Leia bikini and put that on a shirt.
Oh, think how crazy that'd be if he did that and then he wore it to some random Comic Con and there's a photo of it. Like you see a photo
I
of him
would
wearing that.
love that. That would be awesome. You know, my mom actually, okay, that just reminded me that my mom's a huge Trekkie, and uh she, in like the 80s at a Star Trek convention, gave Nichelle Nichols, the original Uhura, a Dartmouth sweater. My dad's a Dartmouth alum, and Nichelle Nichols was at like the most recent one that we went to like 2 3 years ago, and I convinced my whole family to come with us because it was my birthday weekend. I was like, this is what I want to do.
I believe
And
that's what you do once your
so my
birthday weekend.
mom, exactly, yeah. So my mom popped over to Michelle Nichols' thing because she goes, I just wonder if she still has that or if she even remembers it. And my mom goes up and like asks her, she's very old, white hair, beautiful in her later years, just minding her own business. And her assistant goes, "Oh, I know the sweater you're talking about. Yeah, she keeps it with her most of the time, and it's like it's something that she's had for like what 40 years now."
Oh, jeez.
And just a Dartmouth sweater that my mom gave her, and she still has it and knows exactly where it is. And I like that just warmed my heart so much. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
You make that special connection with someone that you never thought you ever have a connection to outside of their work. That's special
Right?
right there. That is special. All right, Levitt. So I like to, honestly, I could talk to you forever. I want to get together with you and Chris after this,
I
whenever
know
you're
we
ready
should get
and
together
comfortable
sometime.
too. But I like to end my interviews by asking a couple questions from this packet of 170 hypothetical questions. So,
Ooh, I love stuff like this. Yes. Okay.
so I'm just gonna ask you two. So this kind of goes back to you being a cosplayer because a lot of the characters you cosplay have powers. So if you could choose one element to control, what element would you choose?
Can I ask a follow up question?
Yes.
A clarif. Okay. Are we talking about like the four elements like Avatar or like the periodic table of elements?
Let's go periodic table because there's more options there.
Ooh, yes. Okay. Glad I asked. All right. I would have to go with helium.
Why helium?
I would go with helium because, first of all, to have a monopoly over the world's supply of helium would just be financially a huge power play.
Oh,
Um,
100%. 100%.
the price of helium is already going up because there's a shortage. We have too many parties. We got too many tanks of helium for the I'm the shortage cause. No. Um, but also because having control over something like helium, which being lighter than air means that I would be able to literally just like manipulate it into making anything fly, which would basically be the same as having the power of flight or like telekinesis.
Hmm. That's a good one, actually. And then also, you study physics, so you probably know the periodic table better than I do right now. So I was just
It's
thinking the whole
been a
time.
while.
It's been a while since I studied science, but I was just thinking like, God, I only like a. That's a great answer because flying around it's gonna be so much cheaper than driving, and then you can make things fly with you. For me, when I like
Make
as
money
a
anytime somebody has a party.
exactly, or if you want to, help someone fill up their bounty castle, there we go.
Oh, but if you fill it with helium, it might fly away.
You know what? That's not your
Oh, I could do
problem.
the up house thing. I could do the up house thing.
Oh, I've been told I look like Russ. I think his name is Russ from Up.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's a cosplay you should do.
Probably.
Hilarious.
But I was just thinking of Breaking Bad for some reason because you know how the intro video it does have like parts of the periodic table, but then I was like I don't remember what those elements were, so ooh I'm gonna say I know I'm gonna say oxygen because you know I just when I enter a room I just want to take the air out of people's lungs. Nailed it.
Yes,
Nailed it.
savage.
Ooh,
Take
Cece
people's
is
breath
just.
away.
I took Cece's breath away.
Cece, quiet.
I have no regret towards that. This one also, I think, is a little bit up your alley. So, if you were a 90s cartoon evil villain, where would your base be? And what would it look like, slash, have the inside? And what would your henchman, henchwoman wear as uniform? So, this might take a little more elaborate thinking.
You
But
said 90s?
yes, the ridiculous 90s, how they somehow the fashion's coming back, which I don't get.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love all the crushed velvet and all the scrunchies and spaghetti straps and it's great. Awesome.
I felt like this one would speak to you.
This is a great one. Wait, read it one more time. Okay.
Okay, so if you were a 90s cartoon evil
90s
villain,
evil wear. Got it. Yes.
where would your
Okay.
base be? A, what would the inside look like? And what would you have on the inside? So B, so it's like a three-part question. And then what would your hench person wear as uniform? So like henchman, henchwoman, doesn't matter. But where would your base be? What would it look like or have on the inside? And then what would your hench people wear?
Are we limited by real world physics and species?
No, unlimited. Go crazy. Hypothetical world means hypothetical answers. Let's rock and roll.
If I'm gonna go like true inaccessible layer and I'm not limited by the constraints of our universe, I feel like the smart thing to do would use the Hogwarts room of requirement because that's only going to be the lair for me and nobody else can be able to get in there. And then my hench people should probably be either AI or like Mickey Mouse Fantasia style animated
Oh
objects
God, that's
or
a
like Beauty
great
and the Beast
answer.
style.
That's a great answer. Now let me throw in a little bit of a little curveball here. What would your villain name be?
Mm. Well, Poison Ivy's already taken. That one's obvious.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Hmm. What would my evil villain name
I'm
be?
gonna let you think while I answer the question as well. So, I have always
Do
been
it.
a little bit
Yeah.
of a fan when it came to like the villains hiding in kind of plain sight. It's kind of fun. I don't know what. I was just thinking about this, like not. I don't know if it was National Treasure or something else, but like, what if I had a lair in like Mount Rushmore? That'd be kind of fun
Ooh, that's cool.
in plain sight, and then inside will just be, you know, I don't know if I want to be like a giant chart of the villain or the superheroes I'm trying to get. Again, this kind of works for me because you can't really see, but I have like comic book posters kind of sprinkled around the room. But so it's like, what if I just had like a little like a giant dartboard of like villains I want to of heroes I want to go after today. It's like let's go that one, let's go that one, let's go that one. Hench people will look like Prince, so giant purple gaff
I
outfits.
like it.
Little,
Yes.
there you go.
Amazing.
I think my evil villain name would be oh, I want to say for some reason again I'm thinking like 90s rap. I was thinking something along the lines of Sir Mix-a-Lot, but with villainous connotation. So Sir Villain a lot. Again, these answers will change, maybe 10 minutes later. But at the time, at this moment,
I like the
that's what I'm
track
thinking.
you're on for sure. I like
Thank
the
you.
Sir Mix-a-Lot idea. I feel like, all right, I feel like my villain name. Did you watch Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
Okay. You know how Doc Ock is a woman in that one?
Yes. Yes.
So her name is Olivia Octavius. Mine's Olivia Ontkean. So I feel like I need to do like a Doc Aunt or something and like spin off of that because she's got the like mad scientist thing going on too. And I feel like that's just, if I'm going to be a villain, I'm going to be a mad scientist villain, because so is Poison Ivy, and that's my spirit animal.
That's that is perfect. Oh, that was great.
Or like
Olivia,
Doc Olive there.
Duck Olive, and then you'll just throw olives at people. You get a black, you get a green. You get nothing because I don't like you the most.
Only Kalamata for you. But
Olivia,
not
where can the
pitted.
people find you on social media, and where can they find your work as a cosplay artist?
I am on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. That's pretty much it. I mean, I use Reddit, but that's more for consumption than contribution to content. But I am, so like my stuff is Olivia Ontkean Arts on Instagram, and that's where I post my dance related stuff, my like personal hobby crafting things. Um, then Luna Bee Collections is all my Etsy stuff, and that just shows, what I'm working on right now, custom orders people have done, just, sometimes random pet tax photos. And then Volusia Cosplay is my cosplay handle both on Instagram and TikTok. And that's just like a made up name that would kind of came born out of a hybrid of other things too. I needed something that was like an alter ego for my cosplay stuff, because it's just so much easier to like categorize things that way.
That's true. If you just put like Olivia for like all three, it's just gonna be like too confusing.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like you need some individuality, some separatism, and just be like,
I get why celebrities do it,
yeah,
keep your bank accounts and stuff separate from your hobbies.
yeah. Do you think Derek Huff's name is actually Derek Huff?
I do, only because his sister also has the same last name.
Damn it! I had a good train of thought going, but I lost it.
That doesn't mean that they didn't agree on it though. Because they've been since the beginning, so maybe they were like, let's do the stage name together, maintain our popularity. I think it is their real name though. I could be wrong. I don't know. Now I'm gonna have to find out. I can't live with unanswered questions.
Exactly. That's what the show is for. Really ask questions about your mental thinking, and also leave you with questions to think about celebrities, and also, is this guy really named Derek? Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the episode. If you like what you heard or watch and would like more episodes from Keoni Chats, the show can be found on all podcast platforms and YouTube under Keoni Chats. If you want to keep in the loop on other creative content releases, you can follow KC Media on Instagram and Twitter under KC Media 13. And then on Facebook, it'll be under Conlu K Media. So if you'd like to be a guest, email me at kcmedia13@yahoo.com. Tell me your story. I'd love to get you on the show. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.